Today, I gave the Stroll family their very own Formula One team, led and driven by Lawrence Stroll and Simulated 10 seasons. How good can one of the richest teams in Formula One do? Stay tuned to find out. My name is Chris, welcome back to CFRacing, and enjoy the video. Hey everybody, what's going on? Chris here, otherwise known as CFRacing, and I am recording this video right after, or I guess sort of a couple hours after the Las Vegas Grand Prix. And yeah, Lance Stroll actually had a pretty good race today, not gonna lie. I think he finished 5th or something like that. He did great, but today I'm adding Lawrence Stroll Racing or Lance Stroll Racing into the F1 game. We're gonna have big boy Lawrence Stroll driving for them as the main driver for all 10 seasons, and eventually Lance Stroll will be driving for them as well, so we'll have double Stroll action for basically 10 seasons of this simulation. I decided to do this because it just sounds fun, and then I could open up Lance Stroll's spot at Aston Martin and see how they can do with another driver. So with that being said, guys, if you enjoy simulation content like this, hit that like button, subscribe, share with your friends, join the Discord, doing a giveaway right there on the Discord right now, so don't forget to join that. And with that being said, check out G Fuel, use my code and link to get 20% off your purchases on the store. With that being said, guys, enjoy the video. In 2023, Max Verstappen takes 7 wins on the year, 265 points to finish P1, and he wins his first World Drivers' Championship of the simulation. Hamilton takes 7 wins, 259 points to finish P2, and pretty close so far. Perez takes 2 wins, 184 points to finish P3, followed by Russell, 34 points to finish P4. Charles Leclerc takes 103 points to finish P5. Carlos Sainz, 99 points to finish P6. Lando Norris, 76 points to finish P7. Fernando Alonso, 67 points to finish P8. Piastri, 56 points to finish P9. And Esteban Ocon had a pretty good season. He scores 50 points to finish P10. Red Bull win their first constructors title of the simulation, followed by Mercedes P2, Ferrari P3, McLaren P4, Aston Martin P5, Alpine P6, AlphaTauri P7, Williams P8, Haas P9, Stroll Racing with Lance Stroll and rookie driver Théo Pourchaire in P10, and Alfa Romeo actually finish in dead last. In the driver transfer market, Lance Stroll goes to Stroll Racing, you love to see it, followed by Daniel Ricciardo taking Lance Stroll's spot at Aston Martin. Alexander Albon goes to AlphaTauri to replace Daniel Ricciardo. Kevin Magnussen goes to Williams to replace Alex Albon, and Théo Pourchaire goes to Haas to replace Kevin Magnussen. And heading into the second season, one of the first times ever, there is no regulation changes, which is kind of crazy. Usually you see at least one going into the second year. In 2024, Max Verstappen is a 2-time champion in this simulation as he takes 7 wins on the year again, 274 points to finish P1. You can see Red Bull really not dominating in this one. Hamilton takes 6 wins, 254 points to finish P2. Charles Leclerc takes 2 wins, 173 points to finish P3. Perez, 142 points to finish P4, followed by George Russell. 1 win, 111 points to finish P5. Sainz, 102 points to finish P6. Charles Leclerc kind of destroyed him in the simulation, just like he did in Vegas this weekend. Alonso, 84 points to finish P7. Daniel Ricciardo, 67 points to finish P8. Lando Norris, 60 points to finish P9. And Oscar Piastri scores 53 points to finish P10. Red Bull win their second consecutive Constructors title, followed by Mercedes P2, Ferrari P3, Aston Martin P4, McLaren P5, Alpine P6, AlphaTauri P7, Williams P8. Lance Stroll, or Stroll Racing, I keep calling it Lance Stroll Racing, finished P9. They move up a spot with Lance Stroll in the team. Haas finished P10, and Alfa Romeo finished dead last. In the driver transfer market, Sergio Perez retires from Formula One. That moves Pierre Gasly to Red Bull. Yuki Tsunoda goes to Alpine to replace Gasly. Zhou Guanyu goes to AlphaTauri to replace Yuki Tsunoda. Frederick Vesti goes to Alfa Romeo to replace Zhou. Fernando Alonso goes to Mercedes, and Lewis Hamilton goes to Aston Martin. What a driver transfer that was. That is something crazy. And heading into 2025, we have a regulation change to the whole engine with the power and durability departments. This was a big surprise. In 2025, Fernando Alonso becomes a 3-time world champion in his career, but in the simulation, it's his first, as he takes 8 wins on the year, 302 points to finish P1. So all it took was Lewis Hamilton to leave Mercedes and Fernando Alonso to go to Mercedes for them to win. Who would have thought? George Russell takes 5 wins, 242 points to finish P2. Verstappen takes 2 wins, 190 points to finish P3. Gasly takes 1 win, 153 points to finish P4. Hamilton, 112 points to finish P5. Daniel Ricciardo, 98 points to finish P6. He's doing pretty good in the simulation. Charles Leclerc takes 85 points to finish P7. Lando Norris takes 74 points to finish P8. Carlos Sainz scores 69 points, nice to finish P9. And Oscar Piastri scores 60 points to finish P10. Mercedes win their first Constructors title since 2021, followed by Red Bull P2, Aston Martin P3, Ferrari P4, McLaren P5, Alpine P6, Alfa Romeo had a good season to finish P7, AlphaTauri P8, Williams P9, Stroll Racing P10, and Haas in dead last. In the driver transfer market, Alonso doesn't care. He just decides to retire after winning his 3rd Drivers' Championship, even though he probably could win in 2026. Teo Pourchaire then moves to Mercedes to replace Alonso. Jehan Daruvala goes to Haas to replace Teo Pourchaire. Oscar Piastri also goes to Mercedes in a awesome driver swap with George Russell, and George Russell obviously goes to McLaren because it's a driver swap. And heading to 2026, there is a regulation change to the chassis department. In 2026, Charles Leclerc wins his first ever World Drivers' Championship, and he deserves it after that amazing P2 drive in Vegas. By the way, that overtake on Perez in the last lap, money. Charles Leclerc takes 5 wins on the year, 260 points to finish P1. Max Verstappen takes 5 wins on the year, 248 points to finish P2. Carlos Sainz takes 3 wins, 192 points to finish P3. Hamilton takes 1 win, 168 points to finish P4. Gasly 1 win, good for him, 173 points to finish P5. Daniel Ricciardo takes a win, 106 points to finish P6. Lando Norris 75 points to finish P7. George Russell 72 points to finish P8. Piastri 66 points to finish P9. And Esteban Ocon had another good season, 58 points to finish P10. Ferrari win their first Constructors title since 2008. You love to see it, followed by Red Bull P2. Aston Martin actually are P3, McLaren at P4, Mercedes drop down to P5 as they don't have Alonso and Russell as their driver lineup, no surprise there. Alpine finished P6, Alfa Romeo P7, AlphaTauri P8, Stroll Racing P9, Williams P10, and Haas are still in dead last. In the driver transfer market, Nico Hülkenberg and Lewis Hamilton are going to retire. That moves Jack Doohan to Haas, Carlos Sainz goes to Aston Martin, Oscar Piastri goes to Ferrari to replace Carlos Sainz. Drugovich goes to Mercedes to replace Piastri. Albon goes to Aston Martin to replace Daniel Ricciardo, and Daniel Ricciardo goes to AlphaTauri again, even though he probably could have been a team leader there at Aston Martin with Carlos Sainz there as well. And heading into 2027, there is a regulation change to the power and aero departments. Like I said, Daniel Ricciardo should have stayed at Aston Martin as Carlos Sainz is now a world champion. Haven't seen this in a while. He takes 6 wins on the year, 262 points to finish P1. Lando Norris, Carlando won 2 in the championship, who would have thought? Takes 5 wins on the year, 250 points to finish P2. Alexander Albon, good season from him. He takes 3 wins, 182 points to finish P3. George Russell takes 2 wins, 165 points to finish P4. Esteban Ocon takes 122 points to finish P5. Yuki Tsunoda, 110 points to finish P6. Max Verstappen, 87 points to finish P7. Charles Leclerc, 76 points to finish P8. Pierre Gasly, 68 points to finish P9. And Oscar Piastri, 61 points and finishes P10. Aston Martin win their first ever Constructors Championship, good for them, followed by McLaren P2, and Alpine actually finished P3. They had great regulation changes, those 3 teams. Red Bull finished P4, followed by Ferrari, who dropped down to P5. Mercedes finished P6, AlphaTauri P7, Alfa Romeo P8, Stroll Racing P9, Williams P10, and Haas are still in dead last. In the driver transfer market, we only have like 1 transfer. It's Bottas retires, and Ralph Boschung goes to Alfa Romeo. And heading into 2028, it's really boring. There is no regulation change. In 2028, we have another world champion, another new world champion. It's Lando Norris this time, as he takes 7 wins, 270 points to finish P1, followed by George Russell, taking 5 wins, 249 points to finish P2. Carlos Sainz takes 3 wins, 200 points to finish P3. Albon takes 1 win, 157 points to finish P4. Charles Leclerc takes 113 points to finish P5. Esteban Ocon takes 94 points to finish P6, Piastri 88 points to finish P7, Yuki Tsunoda 73 points to finish P8, Max Verstappen 67 points to finish P9, and Pierre Gasly 65 points to finish P10. McLaren win their first Constructors title since the 90s, followed by Aston Martin P2, Ferrari P3, Alpine P4, Red Bull P5, Mercedes, they really suck there in P6, AlphaTauri at P7, Stroll Racing move up to P8, good for them, Alfa Romeo P9, Williams P10, and Haas in dead Last, in the driver transfer market, Kevin Magnussen decides to retire. That moves Alexander Albon back to Williams. Esteban Ocon goes to Aston Martin to replace Albon. Logan Sargent goes to Alpine to replace Ocon. And Pietro Fittipaldi, I'm sorry, that's Enzo Fittipaldi, I believe, goes to Williams to replace the GOAT Logan Sargent. And heading into 2029, there is a regulation change to the durability departments. In 2029, Carlos Sainz becomes a two-time champion of the world as he takes 7 wins, 255 points to finish P1. He had a great title fight with Ocon as Ocon took 7 wins, 250 points to finish P2. George Russell takes 1 win, 176 points to finish P3, and Lando Norris takes 1 win, 152 points to finish P4. The top 4 drivers, they are very close in terms of just performance-wise as teammates. Charles Leclerc takes 105 points to finish P5, Max Verstappen takes 84 points to finish P6, and he's carrying Ferrari, and Verstappen's really carrying Red Bull right now. Piastri takes 77 points to finish P7, Gasly 70 points to finish P8, Teo Pourchaire 64 points to finish P9, and Yuki Tsunoda 62 points to finish P10. Aston Martin win their second Constructors title of the simulation, followed by McLaren P2, Ferrari P3, Red Bull P4, Mercedes P5, and it's the 7th season. We have 5 Constructors winning the championships already so far. This is kind of crazy. Alpine finished P6, followed by AlphaTauri P7, Williams move up to P8, Alfa Romeo P9, Stroll Racing drops 3 spots to finish P10, and Haas are still in dead last. In the driver transfer market, unfortunately, Daniel Ricciardo retires from the sport, and that moves Liam Lawson fitting to AlphaTauri. And heading into 2030, there is no regulation change. In 2030, George Russell, a new world champion, wins his first ever Drivers' Championship as he takes 5 wins, 258 points to finish P1. Esteban Ocon takes 6 wins, 254 points to finish P2. Lando Norris takes 3 wins, 178 points to finish P3. And Russell really destroyed Norris on this season. I don't know what happened to Norris. Sainz takes 1 win, 147 points to finish P4. Verstappen takes 1 win, 140 points to finish P5. Charles Leclerc takes 101 points to finish P6. Gasly scores 86 points, finishes P7. Piastri 78 points to finish P8, Tsunoda 70 points to finish P9, and Logan Sargent 69 points, nice to finish P10. McLaren win their second Constructors title of the simulation, followed by Aston Martin P2, Red Bull P3, Ferrari P4, Alpine P5, Mercedes P6, Williams P7, AlphaTauri P8, Alfa Romeo P9, Stroll Racing P10, and Haas in dead last. In the driver transfer market, Pierre Gasly actually decides to retire from Formula 1. That moves Lando Norris to Red Bull to partner Max Verstappen. That moves Teo Pourchaire to McLaren to replace Lando Norris. Vesti goes to Mercedes to replace Teo Pourchaire. Sainz goes to Alfa Romeo for some reason, even though he's in Aston Martin. That's weird. Charles Leclerc, look at this, goes to Aston Martin. And Ayumu Iwasa goes to Ferrari to replace Charles Leclerc. And heading into 2031, there is a regulation change to the aero departments. In 2031, to my surprise, Esteban Ocon actually beat Charles Leclerc by 1 point. Kind of crazy. Ocon takes 8 wins, 300 points to finish P1, and Charles Leclerc takes 8 wins, 299 points to finish P2. That's a little devastating, not gonna lie. I would like to see Charles Leclerc as a 2-time world champion. As you know, he's my favorite driver. Oscar Piastri takes 146 points to finish P3. George Russell takes 124 points to finish P4. And I believe that was the first mistake I made in this video. Dang, I was trying to clean all the mistakes up because I make quite a few of them. But I left a bracket in there for P4. Oops. Iwasa scores 100 points in his first season at Ferrari to finish P5. Not terrible, actually. Teo Pourchaire takes 88 points to finish P6. Verstappen scores 76 points to finish P7. Lando Norris scores 67 points to finish P8. Tsunoda 63 points to finish P9. And Logan Sargent scores 55 points. What a legend to finish P10. Aston Martin win their third Constructors title of the simulation, and looks like they're the best constructor in this video. Ferrari finished P2, followed by McLaren P3, Red Bull at P4, Alpine at P5, Williams actually P6, they're better than Mercedes who are at P7, Alfa Romeo P8, AlphaTauri P9, Stroll Racing P10, and Haas, they haven't moved in so long, they're still in dead last. In the driver transfer market, Lawrence Stroll finally had enough at like 70 years old. He decides to retire from Formula 1, and that moves Clement Novalak to Stroll Racing. He's not a Stroll, but there's no other Strolls in Formula 1, so he's there. And heading into 2032, there is a regulation change to the chassis departments, and I realized I should have just swapped Goat Tiffy into that Stroll Racing team. That would have been awesome. And in Season 10, 2032, Ferrari's back on top. You love to see it. But we have Oscar Piastri winning the title for Ferrari and another new world champion in the simulation. This was a very, very versatile and different simulation because it's not just Verstappen winning every year. Piastri takes 6 wins on the year, 263 points to finish P1. Yuki Tsunoda takes 4 wins, 226 points to finish P2. Iwasa scores 3 wins, 195 points to finish P3. Logan Sargent wins a race. You love to see it. 1 win, 154 points to finish P4. Charles Leclerc takes 135 points and beats Ocon pretty handily to finish P5. Ocon takes 1 win, 112 points to finish P6. George Russell, 76 points to finish P7. Max Verstappen scores 70 points to finish P8. Teo Pourchaire, 68 points to finish P9. And Lando Norris, 65 points to finish P10. Ferrari win their second constructors title of the simulation, followed by Alpine P2, Aston Martin P3, McLaren at P4, Red Bull at P5, Mercedes P6, Williams P7, Alfa Romeo P8, AlphaTauri P9, Haas in P10. They're not last because we have Stroll Racing. I guess Lawrence Stroll was carrying them. We got Stroll Racing in dead last, guys. And let's take a look now at the final stats for all 10 years because this simulation is officially over. But you're going to want to watch this because it's quite diverse, not going to lie. And at the end of all 10 years, like I said, this was probably the most diverse and just spread out simulation that I have ever done. And I'm so pumped for it. In the Constructors' Championships, Aston Martin had 3, Ferrari had 2, McLaren had 2, Red Bull had 2, and Mercedes had 1. So basically, half the constructors won a title. In terms of World Drivers' Championships, Max Verstappen had 2, Sainz had 2, Charles Leclerc had 1, Piastri had 1, Alonso had 1, Ocon had 1, Russell had 1, and Lando Norris had 1. 8 different champions. That's crazy. You love to see it. I think I did my math right. Yeah, that's 8. That's 8. That's unreal. And in terms of wins, nobody had over 25. That's unreal. Max Verstappen had 22. Ocon actually had 22. Wow. Sainz had 20. George Russell had 19. Charles Leclerc had 16. Lando Norris had 16. Hamilton had 14. Fernando Alonso had 8. Piastri had 6. Albon 4 wins. Tsunoda 4 wins. Iwasa 3 wins. Checo Perez 2 wins. Pierre Gasly 2 wins. Logan Sargent, one of the GOATs, had 1 win. And Daniel Ricciardo had 1 win. So guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. If you guys did enjoy and you want to see more simulations like this, I'm going to try my best to make the most even spread out simulation as possible in the coming weeks. So we maybe have 10 champions in 10 years. I can manually force champions to retire, so it's literally just going to be a new champion every year. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to do that next time. So with that being said, see you guys next time.